Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Kay Gabriel. I work here at the Poetry Project. What a gift. What a gift to welcome you here tonight to celebrate the poetry of the singularly gifted and direly missed Kevin Killian. I want to first give a huge thank you to my colleagues, to Heather and Gary and Serene and Noah and all our volunteers tonight who managed a venue change at the last minute, since there are about 200 boxes of produce where our stage normally exists in the parish hall. But it's also very cool to celebrate Kevin in the big room, as his grandeur and magnificence deserves. So thank you to everybody who made it happen, and actually it's kind of really cool that we're here. Bathrooms are underneath the stairs, also upstairs and out through that door, but that's probably easier for you. If you're gonna smoke, please smoke on the curb. Copies of the Poetry Project newsletter are on your chairs. Please take it home. And please join us for our upcoming events. On Monday, a celebration of John Wiener's Behind the State Capitol. On Wednesday, a memorial for Alice Notley. On Friday, Manuel Arturo Abreu and Saturn Bass. And of course, this is the time of year when we are busy preparing the marathon for you, so please mark your mental calendars for January 1st. And now to Kevin. We are here primarily to celebrate Kevin Killian's writing, but first I want to offer a testament to his heart. I think it's remarkable that probably hundreds of people could tell a similar story to my story of first meeting Kevin. I wrote to him enthusiastically, and he wrote back with an apparently insatiable curiosity about my writing, one that he showed equally to those hundreds of people as well. Kevin's exuberance about other people, his inquisitiveness, the seemingly inexhaustible supply of his attention, these were among his, frankly, superpowers. And they not only won the adoration, the deserving adoration of the many people he lavished his time and support on, they also catalyzed an infinitely exciting and fucking twisted body of work in verse and prose and poets' theater. Detritus from the bad world out there wins a second life in Kevin's writing. He coyly focuses our attention on the actually absurd state of things as they are, and his poetry almost doesn't have to use hyperbole to describe it at all, though he does anyway, because it's fun. Tonight is about his poetry specifically, which is how I first came to Kevin. 4 of his books of poems, Argento series, Action Kylie, Tweaky Village, and Tony Green era, Kevin's genius at titles speaks for itself, have been out of print for years, and another short collection, Elements, never made it into print in this country at all. So a huge thanks to Nightboat and Stephen and Morgan and Dante from Nightboat are here. And thank you to the editors Evan Kennedy and Jason Morris, and to the fabulous Dodie Bellamy, who I hope is watching from California. Thanks to all of these people, Kevin's poetry is back in print. Thank God. It is also so fucking cool that you guys asked me to write the intro for the book. Good God. And now, before I hand things over to our performers tonight, who will be reading Kevin's poetry, I'm going to read from my intro. In contrast to his fiction and memoir, Killian's poetry more rigorously and thoroughly places a third term between itself and its object. To write Argento series, his first book, Killian followed a suggestion from Kathy Acker to write about the catastrophe of the AIDS crisis in San Francisco through the horror films of Dario Argento. His second, Action Kylie, puts Kylie Minogue to work. Killian, both addressing and in drag as Kylie, borrows an insight from camp sensibility that total adoration makes its object more interesting and capacious. Throughout these exercises in riff and quotation, Killian is almost always in drag, as Kylie Minogue as the Green Fairy in Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, as a tweaker who lost me to meth, as Frank O'Hara acting perfectly disgraceful, as Tim Dlugos intoning that the corpses change, but the party goes on forever. The drag changes sometimes from poem to poem or line to line, like, Kevin, you did it again. In the spirit of literary drag, Killian never means I straightforwardly when he says it, not even when the I really, really is Kevin Killian. Playing these games makes it possible for a reader in her own drag as Kevin Killian to encounter old problems, curiosities, and terrors from new and productively strange perspectives. Think of it as an experiment in collective language in which mouthing someone else's words in a different context transforms the speech no less than the speaker. Killian uses his determinant to think in thickly structured and surprisingly open ways about loss, disaster, glamour, sex, cities, genre, gay life, war, gentrification, and premature death. There's a lesson here for people who want poetry to be a form of thought with social and even political force. How does anybody use poetry to talk about real situations that matter to people in a way that makes a lick of difference for them and doesn't just recite already known facts in fancier than normal language? Killian wasn't a political poet per se, but his abundant body of work offers real answers to these more than aesthetic problems. He turns his games of language and persona into big, usable architectures for understanding social crisis, or making militantly absurd fun of routinized humiliation, or figuring out how anyone experiences reality in a society in which profit terrorizes people and commodities take on lives of their own, quote, and nobody knows their business, not even the moguls at Skywalker Ranch who controls everything else. Try his poem, Jealous Roommate, for a really short, punchy ars poetica. Quote, and why do you write? She said to me. She's everyone from A to Z. I write, I said, because it's fun. Because, like Jell-O, I have been invented. But I don't mean to accuse Killian of all this weighty stuff, like revealing truth and transforming reality, without also crediting him for authoring a fabulous, permissive body of work, charming, filthy, and smarmy at turns, with its retchable milk enemas and its devilish twists on Hölderlin's Palach. It's as if he's always stopping to say hey to some bright gem of cultural refuse and figuring out how he can set it into his language palace. Thank God we get to live there forever, too. Like Brecht and Kurt Weill said about their rise and fall of the city of mahogany, Kevin Killian is fun. He's more fun than you and I can bear, and we have to keep bearing his wit. So here's how tonight will work. The following poems will deliver Kevin's poems, and in this order. The following performers will deliver Kevin's poems, and in this order. Tony Torn, Untitled Queen, Edmund Berrigan, Marissa Crawford, Peter B.D., Megan Milks, J.J. Mull, Alexa Jo Berry, Shiv Katecha, and then we'll have audio from Kevin himself from the last time he read at the project. Readers, when you're finished, please welcome the next reader to the stage. Their name will be taped beneath yours or will be taped on a page beneath yours on the podium. And to kick off our celebration of Padam Padam collected poems by Kevin Killian, please welcome to the stage Tony Torn.
Last month I had to put an audition on tape. I had to be a fashion journalist. I felt like I needed a wig for this thing. So I went and bought a wig in Charlotte, North Carolina. I put the wig on and I had a sports coat on. I looked in the mirror and said, fuck, I look just like Kevin. And I almost wore the wig tonight and I didn't, but if it gives you pleasure, think of Kevin standing here with his excellent hair and a sports jacket, reading for you. The Door into Darkness from Argento series. A hand within touching distance of the doorknob. No light, no sound. The lintel black with absence and sighs. The wristwatch that talks. Time for your medication. Feeling the cold drip inside your thigh, the scent of fear. Quiet, the set is cleared, and the long spaces grow still dark. Bitter scent of attempted, the light, the warm hatching eggs. Open the door, pick its hinges, flood the house with darkness. A short burst of steam, the mailbox slot, hot as his asshole. Open the door. Darkness within, and the field of an open human page, the check for his pills, and a glass of water from crystal springs. Tipped to his mouth, he is old now, yodeling in a sleep indecent, cracked, his hand furtive, sly yanks on a single sheet. Pull at the tubes, throw open the black wooden door, and let go. All the world starting from him, from inside his own eyes. And I'm like, the hand that takes the door by the knob firmly, uprooted, as once I made him come with my hand, till he couldn't stop gasping for breath. Now he can breathe. Now he can live. Now he can come. Now he can write dead in the dark. The second bit I'm going to read is from Action Kylie. And at the heart of Action Kylie is a big chunk called Kylie Evidence. And most of it is a list of obsessive details about Kylie Minogue, as only a super fan like Kevin could deliver. And then it ends up with these paragraphs. But what does one do with one's enthusiasms? Where do they keep? There's an anxiety in declaring oneself a Kylie fan, similar to how coming out used to feel. Nowadays, it's the exact same thing, I suppose. Dennis Cooper can say, "Oh, I'm influenced by Bresson," and people will nod with appropriation, even though they're thinking of Cartier-Bresson. I suffered some credibility loss while under the spell of Dario Argento, but nothing like the waves of shame and misery that engulf me when people say, "Kylie who? Oh, that girl who did the locomotion?" I think I like her because she reminds me of myself. I don't have Dennis's genius, not to mention Bresson's, but like Kylie, I can stretch out a second or third-rate talent and make it mean something by A, insisting on its smallness, B, attempting to push the envelope, usually by collaboration with others, and C, feeling no guilt when in a corner at the end of my tether or upset by something in my personal life, I retreat to my roots and produce version XYZ of the thing I know that you'll like from me. I flip through picture after picture, poke them out across the rug, an obsessive rendering, a trip-hop world of displacement and deraciation good to go. Kylie Minogue isn't the first artist to find beauty in Freud's uncanny, nor the first to locate the unheimlich squarely in the detritus of today's commercial culture. A propulsive, kitschy flatness of gaze underlines her determination, the steadiness of her eye, what emerges as touching, almost saintly. Her critics say her voice sounds as though she's reading all her words off a prompter, that she lacks heart. Often she sounds as though English were not her own language. Kylie fans resettle the unsettling haunt of sexuality by our insistence on customization, adapting, subverting its broad strokes to our own homey use. It's this impulse, gears shifting downward from public to private, that Kylie understands and illuminates beautifully. She extends this generosity to her own art, which seems unfinished, left to complete by the viewer. There's an empty, spooky sigh at the heart of this work. Iconic objects take on eerie lives of their own, and no one knows their business, not even the moguls of Skywalker Ranch, who control everything else. I can spot a fellow fan of Kylie's halfway across the room. We share a secret understanding, akin to E.M. Forster's concept of homosexuality as a willed gift. Cold, hard tears seep from the work. Tears shed for an implacable universe of wanting and wishing and denial. Please welcome Untitled Queen.
stand if you want. Wait, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, sweetie. Hi, everyone. My name's Untitled. Hi. I just am going to give a little intro to myself. Thank you. I just want to thank our lovely poet and newlywed, Kay Gabriel, and everyone here at the Poetry Project for being so lovely and for inviting me to perform here. So I'm a drag artist, and for the past several years, I've been incorporating poetry as part of my practice. So it usually involves lip syncing audio of the poet reading their own work, which I will be doing today. So I know we'll be hearing audio later from him, but it's just been such a wonderful introduction to his work, and I hope that I can honor his warmth and his humor and with these works. So I'll be doing two pieces. One of them is Inferno, and then the other one will be I Lost Me to Meth. Okay, I'm gonna put this off, and then I'm gonna start. Mwah.
I'll read a poem from my book, Argento series. I'll read a poem from my book, Argento series. This was a book that I wrote, it took years and years to write, and while I was writing it, it was during the heyday of the AIDS epidemic. So a lot of these poems are elegies for different friends of mine who died, and against it, they're counterposed the films of the Italian horror director Dario Argento. Inferno may be too descriptive. I lived with him for 7 years. Black underwater, a shark on fire. Are you the patient XYZ who blew smoke up my ass and fell into watery Aphrodite loving me? Rip that tube from the wall and feel me up loving you and forcing you to wriggle a bit, a sausage on griddle, hot. Mother of tears, mother of shadows, give him a little more zip. I don't want him self-conscious when he walks among ... Big bright colors like a Cyberchrome painting by Nan Golden. Should she turn to oils? I ate the 70s dancing in disco and made the 80s this fresco experience. Now I'm impoverished, begging for my birthmark, going on Thorazine. Should I turn to oils? Shark under fire, or should I just say, tattoo man, make me a birthmark. Say it was me from the beginning, and in thy honor I shall do thee justice. I lived with him when he died, and I lived well when he upbraids me, for he is the Saxon justice of a woman's barony. He gives me strength to carry on. He lights up my life. Disco Inferno. Night falls on a prodigal landscape. Loving him was never light, mechanical. Mother of mercy, mother of pain. Tell him for me he lives on my derma when I pull it off gently after the chemo. He won't love me without my foreskin, my little snip of waxwork, only a storm-tossed frigate by Turner. Tell him there's some easy pickings, long and low, the banks of the Mersey. White jersey daisies and callus slips creeping up the inner side of his leg, locks and curl, then up to inside his anus where I admitted the Thorazine early. Mother of HIV, mother of envy, grant me the shallow wish to be loved like a man in the highest way. La vida nuova, in your shallow dish I shall take to Goshen, learning the ropes in efficient way. If the boat don't break, don't fix it. Miles of ash and fire, all you can see in your throat, your naked silver throat, a shallow boombox, glug, it's coming through, and we're history. Okay, I lost me to meth. Well, you'd have to be gay and live near the Castro and remember these posters that appeared last summer all across the Castro, and they were always in sepia, different guys like looking horrible. And they would sign it, "I lost me to meth." And the me and the meth were kind of in the same font. Okay. I kept seeing these posters of these hollow-eyed men in the subway, on the door of the bus, and billboards high above the city street. "I lost me to meth." Male, shaky hand, spelling it out. Tragic, clever. I was thinking of how I had lost myself to meth, which is maybe what they meant. And all my friends, I moved in on this perilous, lonesome feeling. "But you aren't on meth," a little voice kissed in my ear. "You're fine, Kevin. If you have lost meth, it is to age, to the medications that make you smile." That gaunt man on the sign, they all of them, tinted in sepia, for when you lose yourself to meth, you first lose your color. You become a numb gnome in this tweaky village of the Castro. The rainbow flag, all stripes of one sepia. And that is how I lost being gay. I tried explaining some of this to Raymond. On the way home on the plane, it hit me. I lost me to them. Them as a way of reading meth. It was in my head why this message seemed so rad. The paint, the color of weak cocoa, and I lost me to them, Raymond. Raymond, I've had this trouble since 11 or 14, scrambling to keep up with this one ball, black and white, a soccer ball, and me falling behind it onto my face in the first dirt of the 60s. Where you go, I will follow. All others can go to ilostmetometh.com, where probably paid doctors can explain it better, but I will be on ilostmetothem.com, a destination few will reach the ordinary way unless you're really tweaking balls, your fingers hitting every hot spot on the keyboard, and wow, all of a sudden, you're on the site with dirt on your tongue. It is sort of the Danny Minogue of feelings. A worthy girl turned into charity case. And my resentment of that man whose cock seemed longer than he knew what to do with. And that day in the market at Cannes, during the Cannes Film Festival, when Sean Penn won the Palme d'Or, freaky satin ribbon pinned down his chest by 3 small couturières giggling down to his white bell. "It is your day to shine, Sean Penn," as seamstresses earn their keep by tugging at your ribbon, spelling out the words of bread. I lost me to meth, exclusively on ilostmetometh.com.
You want me to do it? I can do it. Well, yeah. Thank you so much. Untitled, our next reader is Edmund Berrigan.
I can see you better without my glasses. I moved to San Francisco when I was 21 and pretty much met Kevin and Dodie right away. And Dodie even gave me a temporary job working for her at Small Press Traffic, looking through poetry books. And they were just very, very welcoming, very encouraging. And I also, I had a reading series in my apartment, and they would come to that. And there was also a photo shoot at their apartment one day that they invited me to. And the 2 photos I remember from that, one is the 3 of us, sort of like Kevin, Dodie, and me, and like a family portrait of smiling orphans, kind of. And then there was one that they took just of me, kind of cracking up, and it became the cover of Mirage, a periodical. which was great. So I got to be a cover boy for 5 seconds. And on the other side of this, in 2019, I went to San Francisco to give a reading, and Kevin wrote to me and said he would be in the reading, but in the back. And I suggested that we get together. And so we made a plan. And after I got to San Francisco, I found out that his health was pretty in a severe condition at that point. But he sent me a free pass to go to the SF MoMA. And then I met him at his office because he was still going into the office. And he immediately Xeroxed 5 issues of Mirage, a periodical, to get me up to date. And then, and we just had this beautiful, like, positive, optimistic lunch. And I only slightly broke the spell at the very end as we were parting. And he very courageously worked up the strength to say goodbye before it got too sad. So I said to him that the time, he was already supposed to have passed at that point, so I told him it was a gift. And it was a gift for me too. So 2 poems here. Tottering Bridge, Exploding Bomb. Tottering bridge, a bomb burst under you and seized your supports, reducing you to splinters. Once, you'd carried kings to queens, costers to market. Now, you're a heap of toothpicks. Still, your presence is felt. Every time we call each other up and make dates to meet, we're replicating the functions you used to perform. Exploding bomb, once you'd gone off and destroyed Tottering Bridge, I began to feel pity for you. Who can imagine your bland beginnings in an alley workshop, 3 parts metal, 1 part fizz, without regretting you're now all ash? I never did like that old wood bridge. He was so phallic, so imperious. You and he now share a common state of fulsome, bygone pastness. In a few years, I'll join you both. And this is Mercury. When I broke the glass of thermometer, outran the mercury. In one liquid blob, matter calling to matter, like not one of its molecules wanted to be parted from another, even for a moment. Mercury was supposed to be so mercurial, like Ariana Reigns, the poet who, we were celebrating her book Mercury in Chicago for the AWP. She and Dodie and Peter and Louis Warsh reading together in a bar, and she canceled due to snow in New York, but the crowd learned that she had deputized Thurston Moore to read for her, so they were assuaged. But then it turned out Thurston had missed the same plane. Joel Craig, the MC, came out and had to announce that they wouldn't be getting Ariana nor Thurston, but me and this one woman sitting at a round table by herself next to the mic, by herself except 14 bottles of beer surrounded her. When she heard the news, she smashed a bottle on the table and screamed, "Fuck that," and bolted into the snow. So I got up and read thinking, worst auspices ever. My mind ran clear, and I declared to myself I would be Ariana for half an hour, just assume her identity. To my aid came Thespis on silvery wings. I was more Ariana than she herself had ever been, I'm sure. And as I spoke her words, I understood the difficult section of Mercury called Thursday, as had nobody else before or since. I was writing it on stage, live, giving it to my fans, word by word, and I realized that he, the missing Thurston, was the god they had coined the word Thursday after. For he would bless us on a Thursday if we leaned on him. It could be any day of the week. It could be all the molecules in his body entering and filling mine. I would be a day. I'd run around after myself. I would cohere. When I finished, the silence swelled around me, profound. Then a burst of sustained applause. And even the woman out in the snow was sobbing, for she hadn't heard me. Marissa Crawford is next.
Hey, thanks to the Poetry Project and Kay for putting this together, and Nightboat for putting this out, and Evan and Jason. So I met Kevin when I was a grad student in San Francisco. Thank you. Thanks. In like the 2000s, and he was just like the most generous, kind, weird, unpretentious, insightful person, and I'm just like so grateful for his work and mentorship, and Dodie's as well. So I'm gonna read one poem from Tweaky Village and then one poem from Action Kylie. And the first one is called, where is it? 10 Years In. 5 years in. To a war that never ends. I heard telephones, opera house, favorite melodies. US, $30 million an acre, they say, of liberating a solid gold mine. And the sold trinkets of the Astor Ray slither up from the eagle's nest, sold. 5 years in. What was I thinking? It wasn't only the war, it was the collapse of the commons, the greed of the money world, my own laziness, my shame. I was an addict, and I let lies continue to drown out my qualms in favor of a bliss that contained and contextualized my own death. Ethel Waters singing Am I Blue in On With the Show, 1929. It was like going to dinner, and on the menu, only one choice. You could eat shit, or from the other column, you could order a slightly less repulsive make of shit. Even activists must freak out sometimes about how little we've done. But sometimes I think the only way out of the neoliberal globalism we're drowning in is a complete return to irony and Marxism. And both of them failed in the first place because they could not withstand the homosexual. Kylie Minogue, Get Out of My Way, 2010. Waving her hands at the wrists on the beat, scorn face, as if to say, fuck you. I'm off to another world that doesn't have your stupid scrotum in it. It wasn't only the war, it was action neglected, sectarian malice, a faith that did not allow for labor. So I fucked him. That's how hot he is. Free. Free. The price tag's shiny with white out. It's free. I go shopping with Dodie, the red, shiny bag at Kate Spade on Grant. Let's go into Agnes B and see how much the shirt cost that Chris and Brian bought me. Save. Long time ago, I thought you could save me. I pictured a dreamy little house like Elizabeth Robinson's, with a sunken tub, but instead I settle for squalid manor, Frank O'Hara's dull apartment. Build thee more stately mansions, O my soul. I hear a voice that rings. It might be Kylie Minogue, the sexiest tomboy beanpole on the planet. That which I walked in size 8 shoes, for to buy the ones we saw in the window, May sun splattering them with pixels. We saw ourselves, the two of us, and I said, "Ah, what's the matter with me? I have nothing to look forward to." Ship of pearl which poets feign, sail the unshadowed main. The venturous bark that flings, and suddenly the pavement tears itself apart. A lift appears. Man comes up through the sidewalk in front of Stella McCartney's store in New York, a little bit down from Joe and Charlie's, to have seen so much, to have missed so much. Why, next time we will do better, till our bleeding feet spurt compassion in our hearts. In our next life, when perhaps we will return as a shell on the beach and a little pink kitten, Lucy. Welcome, Peter B.D.
What's up? How's everybody doing? Thanks for having me, Kay, and for the Poetry Project for asking me to do this. I've just been thinking about the Poetry Project. The first time I read here was in 2019, and Matty D'Angelo was doing the tech, and he passed away recently. It's been really crazy to think about all of that. But when Kay asked me to do this, I was just reading Kevin's poems, and I just found a poem with the name Matt in it. And I thought Matty would think it was really stupid and funny if I read a poem simply because his name was in it. So big ups to Matty D and Kevin K. This first one is called Cyborg Events. Matt Damon, flat on his back, a needle in the skin between his thumb and hand. And when he awakes, a metal apparatus like a cross has been thrust into and out of his nervous system. In Elysium, the aspirational luxury satellite all plebes hope to reach one day. He's Max, speaks Spanish, with an Italian name, apparently the only white man in Los Angeles in 2054. The populace unruly is looking to get out. When I got my arms and legs embedded, I could crush walnuts with my nuts. I was a rampage on legs. A tripod shoots out of my butt should I choose to sit. These, the cyborg events of my lifetime, were rubbed into my cortex, like lanolin long ago in childhood, when I knew one girl and one nun, and wrote their names on my skin with my nail. F+M with a halo over our names. I guess it's female and male, and the halo I meant as forever. Funny how I died, but the cyborg events came true, Jack. Everyone became a citizen, and Obamacare chambers flew down to earth. In the belly of a big white bird. It was on a treaty we signed. WQZ, with the human figments that became Jodie Foster in Extremis. Sort of a Jacobean period for the star I once loved the best. Felt I could do anything, yet the power of correction remained with the state. This next one is called House of Wax. Her spooky face is bent. Under the twisted apple blossom, she takes your hand and gives it a wee squeeze. Awake, you scatter her ashes under the twisted apple blossom. We're nothing but lab rats, she gasped. Drugged tubes piercing up her throat like thorns. Leaky thorns, twisted brambles, but pure and white and red. Men pull her toward the morgue, under the stinging white lights of the ray. Techie type gowns hold out. Hands of salt refresh us, they beg. In the house of wax, the melting wax her body makes. Give me back her floating eyes. I'll put them in my shadow box and build a new face around them. Smiling and screaming, mouth open, apple blossom falling from it. Come on and let it snow. Thank you. Yeah. Next up, we have Megan Milks.
Hi. Thank you to Kay and the Poetry Project and to Nightboat. It's really wonderful being here with you all, honoring and remembering Kevin in this way. I'm going to read two of my favorites, of many favorites, of Kevin's poems collected here. Is it all over my face? Spring 1978, clutching an old copy of Gay Sunshine, on verso, Allen Ginsberg's poem, I Lay Love on My Knee. I nursed love where he lay, I let love get away, I let love lie low. In Stony Brook, Long Island, where once Denise Levertov nearly expired of an illicit passion in wartime. Spring, so difficult to keep Allen Ginsberg's rhythms out of my head, the numb, dumb beat that he compared to the stroke of a cock, its pulse when you're holding it up or out in front of you. His affect was strong, unruly. He was so used to getting what he wanted. Indeed, maybe it's a Buddhist trait, their accent on humility, some kind of bizarre cover-up for the emotional thing. He was away on business. Always the two tails of his beige trench coat disappearing into subway car doors. Is it all over my face? When I talk with you, I feel myself grow red. Your wispy beard and heavy smell of cigarette smoke. With you, I feel the obviosity of Ginsberg's doggerel verse grow into baton-like accent and stricture, like it is going to pound me to death. Is it all over my face? You've caught me love dancing. Everything returns again, everything comes back, the return of the repressed, both the laughter and the rain. She is living somewhere far away, and I send her this poem to give her options, ask her in my lonely way. Today the skies over our little park are grim, pink, streaked with black and white like a cat. Nothing can hold back the rain. I could see through the clouds to this place where Arthur Russell brings his hand around my cock, cello wet with tears, and how he's gone. I told my friends he was not the boy for me. Was I surprised? Yeah. Was I surprised? No, not at all. Desiree, you know how it hurts me. He caught me love dancing. Heeding the warnings of Allen Ginsberg, the American Buddhist poet who predicted that their love would lead to untold suffering, he and Arthur Russell lived apart from the day they were married. His death from AIDS in April 1992 inspired some of my own most beautiful work. My own premature death in June 2004 marked a great loss to contemporary Buddhist art. Where do I run to? Is it real? 15 stitches across my face, one for every man that hurt me. 15 apparitions I have seen, the worst a coat upon a coat hanger. Players and painted stage took all my love, and not those things that they were emblems of. Is it all over? My face feels scarred, my teeth stretched across Botox and bandages. In the silhouette, he casts the window of a moving train, moving faces, temporary hookup. He touched the other side of my face. Red maple, pepper bush, cranberry. Is it all over the internet? Series of short, sharp abdominal pains? Is it common lingua franca, the way my soul seeks to engulf you? Is it all over my face, the shame of belief, the way the ears of George Bush Jr. sprout from his head, for he fears the angel? Is it all over the world, red maples of Xanadu, cranberry, the simple gift of Long Island, almost the way Arthur Russell, Lou Harrison played on it? Allen Ginsberg, all noble. Arthur Russell, Lou Harrison played on it till sunset, spring 1978, and faraway fingerprints for Kylie on cattails still finds a way to haunt me, always and forever. The cat's meow. He wasn't all black and she wasn't all white. But when they walked together in stripe formation, abreast like a fish, zigzagging through the rooms of the apartment, and then when he left us, she walked alone, one animal, I would pull time down off the highest shelf. I couldn't catch it in my fingers, but on the carpet, like a spill of salt or sand, it would twinkle by. Please welcome J.J. Mull.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much to Kay and to the Poetry Project, and of course to Nightboat for putting out this beautiful book. Thank God for that, and thank God for Kevin. So I'm gonna read a couple of poems. I miss Kevin a lot. I met him as a young 18-year-old boy in the Bay Area, and he had this way of like making scrappy, nobody poet boys feel like minor celebrities or something, and I miss him a lot. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple of poems, the first of which is from the incredible Action Kylie. Okay. Flowers and money. Flowers and money I give to you. These I hand to you because it's May. We won't be happy having our way, not this way, not this, the way of the fool, though so often simple folly makes me feel I'm the guest on a game show and you're the host. Tinny, squeaky music plays as we enter. Well, Alex, I whisper, I was in love for a week, but all that's over now. Pretty to say so, thus appropriate, I thought, for spring anyhow. My accent fell like a cut flower, like a crinkled dollar bill, from some giddy height into the gutter, a trashy place for something lovely or greenish. What a way to describe one's own accent. I say so, who shouldn't? I give you money and flowers because I'm so happy and because I want to buy your friendship. I want to be pretty and appropriate. I want to have fallen. You know, like on TV, the host gives the guest a gift. In real life, it's like my mother always said, don't go into someone's house with empty arms. And then I'm going to read one more poem from the also incredible Argento series. Who, I didn't love him enough. 90,000 names for the government to gamble on, to conjure out of a hole so big it could be only. Who said to me, look at my lesions. No, Kevin, really look. Don't look at the stars. Enough of your avoidance behavior. His body in state or tumbled through a rinse cycle, drying in the feathery wind, lint on your net, your intersticed net, who I loved so long but not enough. Who gave Steve Abbott the, quote, AIDS Award for Poetic Idiocy 7 years before he died, Ed Dorn. Who, rather than waiting, seized his little liver in a silver thimble, the man I mistook for a molting hen. I, reigning the roost, the big cock of 1983. I, impenetrable, safe of steel, those tiny fingers made me look like a monkey. Who, on the plush row of velvet embroidery, Joni Mitchell sobbing in the pew behind me. I wish I were a river I could skate away on. A thirst so deep confession doesn't cover it. I wanted him to live, to fill his throat with mela, mela, pito, and medio flumine, but who was it told me that they are moving the body into the memorable room of a long love? Who was the madman who took him back while we watched indignant? Such a man could go in the front row with Lisa and Dan, watching David Wojnarowicz scream his spittle on my chin at the gay bookstore in San Francisco, marveling at, comparing him. Who did this to me, that I lived and did so little to be clear, always the quaint uppermost in mind, my mad strive for personality, always the quaint peppermint misread. Who made the little tiger, the big lamb on Sunday, broke my will, gave me to the boy, following him down to the grave, holding back something ungiven? Who launched this rocket into space that burst into Earth, one death at a time, its rockets a flare of red and pink pin spots, livid bouquet in the night sky over beautiful city, whose garden did I pick this death from? Zing, zing, a phone insistent as kismet, the fate that brought me to a dark reply. Hello? Is Kevin Killian home? I've got a message. And who is this? I whisper into the phone. Who did you say was calling for him? The straight black mouth of the plastic phone. I'll see if he's in. And who did you say? If you did say, and I don't think you did say, who took me to this state in my history, who made my feet scatter like the burnt leaves of the oak seedlings while I walked to the phone as though nothing were happening. Under the sky, under the rain, in San Francisco, home of the birds and the sun, and the big bottle of diluted morphine I gave to him Sunday, and leaving him quietly, I closed the door on my nation. Thank you. So next up is Alexa Jo Berry. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alexa Jo. You can also just call me Jo. I'm really excited to pay tribute to Kevin, especially with people who knew him. There's such a sense of like how big his heart was in this book. And as a bitch who's like obsessed with my divas and also being like silly and sentimental, I'm really excited to pay tribute. So this one is Il Tram from the Argento series. It's dedicated to Dennis Cooper. There are 6 of us on this tram. Before we get to Minna Street, one of us will be murdered. First, I was Invisible Girl, then Wonder Woman, and now I am Thief Catcher. And who are you, she firmly spoke. When men fly over your head, I'm hatcheting, ratcheting. Copy up your sums onto the ancient oaken bar separating public from private tram riders. And pay your piper, necklace of pearls, lost down the piano wires of big Italian tram, playing music as it approaches our little alley. And the killer strikes, glissando! Invisible Girl, can you see him? Thief Catcher, snatch his rat ass up. Let's barbecue him on Minna Street. Cough up those pearls, his wounds plugged with pearls, which when removed are washed. Asia Argento thinks she sees someone she saw in the tram, humble down cobbled alley. No cloak but the night, his pearl-like face, a ghost-faced glow over his shoulder as I snatch up his rat ass. I copy my sums on said rat ass, breaking down wall between public. I don't know how you feel about Ewan McGregor, said Dennis, but after watching The Pillow Book, you get bored with his perineum. And then next I have Good Like That from Action Kylie. Work is a disaster. Treacle drips from the cherry tree beyond my window pane. Slow fumes of treacle. My little nephew in the Persian Gulf says his heart is beating faster and war is a disaster. Slick in a white uniform, his head shaved, the top of his head a white ball. Oh, Noel Bush, work is a disaster. I needed that Xanax just to get me through the day of new job for internet startup. I called my own number saying, I am Dr. Kevin Killian. Please give me the white tablet in Lucky 19. My uniform as the nightmare begins in Nation starts up sharp DVD click. I'm listening, glistening, late for the disaster. And driving to Prescription, my mom will have conniptions. I'm good like that. I can speak for US Navy, and my boys will come and save me, San Susi. But I need to get my mouth around that Xanax. It helps me with my panics. It's good like that. The news is a hairline, receding on the airline and trucking to the Walgreens in my WASP machine. Brother nations, picture this. One of you tackled onto a point on North Korea, and then way over here, a melted ice cream cone in desert heat. Another point, the axis of evil. Then way over there, point 3 on the axis of evil. Hi, it's me, Noel Bush, and that is my prescription I called in on the phone machine with my number of love from Dr. Kevin, what the fuck is his name now? Thank you. Next is Shiv Kotecha.
Hi, I too am gonna read 2 poems. Both of them are from Tony Green era. I really miss Kevin as well. I didn't get to meet him too many times, but for the last 3 years he was alive, I was lucky to write back and forth with him via email. I was gonna read this one second, but I think I'll read it first. Thank you, Nightboat, and thank you, Kay, for letting us all do a little bit of Kevin drag. It feels really appropriate, actually, to have his voice in the room, and I'm glad that we're going to be doing that. When Kevin died, I found a recording of this poem that he was reading it in Oakland, around the time that this book came out, and he has wonderful banter when he reads, and he cuts himself off after the line, "They feather my walls with rache," he says. And rache is in quotes, and you'll find out in the poem, a mispronunciation of Rache in German, which is revenge. But Kevin has this story that is embedded into my brain, where he cuts himself off and he's like, have you seen that episode of Sherlock Holmes? Watson walks into a room and sees the word Rach written on a wall, and he turns to Sherlock and says, the suspect wrote the word Rach it was Rachel, and they forgot the L, and leaves because it's a silly story. Kevin did it better, I'm sorry. But Kevin pronounces it wrong also, and I love him for that. Pink illusions. I've got these freaky angels with white wings in my pink illusion house. They feather my walls with Rache, revenge in German. And I was so close, that's what kills me. To a heaven mad with flower petals and zigzag papers, bangles and beads, the dream of the warrior, and then to find out, like a snap of salts, it was only a ruse of pink illusions. I was never going to be a player. Along the river, the fountain plays and sapphic songs are sung, but not for me. This is called He Was a Writer. Do you know that song by Cilla Black, He Was a Writer? Crazy time track. Track tells a story in accents, loud, flashy as shares gypsies, tramps, and thieves. Let me take you into Cilla's world, working in a posh bookshop where all is orderly, quiet, Good, neat people step in like Mrs. Dalloway, order books and flowers, depart, leave us humming. All the greater the shock when one night at closing time, rain splashes the streets of Sloane Ranger, bells jingle at the bookshop door, and Scylla looks up. There he stands in a tattered jacket. He was a writer from Cooper Union, and his first love would always be his pen. Red penis, red Lord Byron, limp, smolder, Satan. There was magic in every word he said. They tumble into a tumultuous clench, but she and books in general are too small for him to stick with long. Soon she wakes, he's gone, and she goes back to her tidy life. Cardigans, pleated skirts, ivory brooches. Oh, Antonio, you promised when you walked me home that one day I would read your book. Scylla strains her ears. She loved him. At the kitchen table, she blows kisses in his ears. Papers scattered and crumpled. Scylla, I'm trying to narrate. Then one day, long after a shipment arrives at Montgomery's bookstore, she opens the stack. The dedication is right where she hoped it would be, but on the back cover, your picture stares at me, your tattered jacket, your magic, your being gone as if you never cared for me, though you wanted Shirley Bassey dead, but me alive somehow. Sometimes it takes a quiet woman to make a young man blush. You were a writer, and your narration was the sweetest ever told. Please welcome the voice of the memory of the voice we all live. Please welcome the voice of the man whose memory we all live in, the voice of Kevin Killian.
This one's called Norwegian Wood. And you know that song by the Beatles? Even you youngsters will know this one when I sing it to you. It takes place in San Francisco with me and Dodie and our friends Donald Mosier and Mike Palmieri. At Eleanor Harwood Gallery, Dodie asked me, did I ever hear of KO sex? Mike was nearby. Mike leaned in. Well, you take 4 Ambien. I knew this was going to be the kind of story I'd regret ever hearing until I tried it for myself. Well, what is Ambien? KO stands for knockout sex, the kind you have when you want to have it, but you just can't face it. Straight men, Mike said, who want to be sodomized, but know they won't like it, they take 4 Ambien and they call me in the morning. Hello, where was I last night? I once had a girl, or should I say, when people say they are having sex, what are they implying about their status? Well, we own this one thing from Norway. Does that make you Liv Ullmann? In the white coat of crystal, she lowers a tube to your body. I'm sorry, Liv Ullmann fans. She's great in her own way, but when she was a star in the Bergman movies of the 70s, I found her kind of cold. I always thought she'd be playing like a white-coated doctor, like, you know, in Rocky Horror. In the white coat of crystal, she lowers a tube to your body. Women used to like her in the abstract. She got all into scientificness. And when you see her, your heartbeat plunges, a cold beat of lead, and then call me in the morning.
Give it up for Kevin. And thank you once more to our readers, Tony Torn, Untitled Queen, Edmund Berrigan, Marissa Crawford, Peter B.D., Megan Milks, J.J. Mull, Alexa Jo Berry, and Shiv Katecha. Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you for coming. Please come back soon. Good night.